The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. The darkness of Union Cave swallowed him as soon as he was through the mouth that led inside. He could not see an inch in front of him, but he did not stop running until he tripped on a chunk of rock that jutted out of the ground. Pain flooded the elbow and forearms he had fallen upon, but he ignored it and rolled onto his back to check the cave entrance behind him. The Mareep herd was now so far away that he could no longer hear the jolts of static and the hum of electric power they resonated. Though he couldn't see them, Gold hardly trusted them to remain outside and not pursue. Silver was bent on killing him. His only option was to push deeper into the cave passage and hope for the best. After some time feeling his way blindly, stepping in puddles and stumbling on more rocks, Gold felt a slight tremor in the ground. At the same moment, he noticed a spark of light up ahead. It was weak, even for his dark-adjusted eyes, but it stood out plainly in the otherwise pitch blackness. The tremor faded, as did the light, but Gold staggered and tripped his way hurriedly to where he had seen it last. He might have passed the source completely if his ankle had not brushed against it and received a brief static jolt. Ouch! Hey, what? There was a second tremor, and once more, it caused the thing on the ground to give light. Gold had to squint his eyes to see, but he recognized the mass to be the body of a Mareep. But I just escaped a herd of these, he thought with confusion. And they didn't follow me in, so what's one of them doing in here? Now that he was close enough, he could hear its breathing, labored yet shallow. It sounded pained, and Gold couldn't begin to guess the extent of its possible injuries in the dark. I could revive this creature, he thought to himself, holding up his arms. But is this the beast of the cave that Silver was talking about, set up to electrocute me as soon as I've laid hands on it? He thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, that's not important right now. Spirit entrusted me with this power to do the right thing. Whatever Silver says about me being fickle or unworthy, I can't just let this Mareep suffer here. Without another thought, he brought his hands down, feeling the prickle of static as they made contact with the fallen Mareep's wool. He breathed a single word of command. Rise. The static tingles he felt in the wool multiplied so rapidly that he jerked his hand back out of sheer reflex. All at once, light shot from Mareep's body, illuminating the cave walls near and far alike. When Gold managed to take his hands from his eyes, he squinted down to see the Mareep up on its feet, looking back at him. At first, its face was blank. Then suddenly, it gave a bleat of joy and nuzzled his hand with its head. There was no sharp pain of shock this time, just the surprisingly silky texture of the sheep's wool. Gold felt his face lift with a smile. Look at you, he said, more to himself than to the Mareep. You're a lot friendlier than your buddies out there. I wonder why Silver's not getting to you. There was another, third tremor, this time causing such a quake that Gold had to flail his arms for balance. The Mareep stumbled, but didn't fall, and gave another, more worried bleat. Gold recovered himself and nodded, the tension mutual between them. Something big is coming, he warned. We need to get out of here now. Do you know the way? The Mareep only lowered its head, its body trembling slightly. Now, as Gold's eyes readjusted to the new lighting, he began to notice things that set his nerves even more on edge. On the stony ground not far from Mareep lay the torn shreds of what had once been a backpack. There was also the shattered casing of a spray potion and the upper spherical half of a split Pokeball. Gold realized with a start that at least one trainer had attempted and failed to pass through this cave, and was probably the late owner of this Mareep. But before he could ponder what had befallen the unfortunate victim, something stirred out of the upper corner of his eye. He looked up, expecting to see some sort of monster, but all he beheld was a pink-colored quadruped almost double the size of Mareep. Its back was to him as it waddled its way slowly into a distant cave pool. Gold recognized the Pokemon as a Slowpoke, but his mind registered that something was missing. Didn't they have tails? Where was this one's? There was no more time to ponder. A dull rumble echoed through the cave, and suddenly, Pokemon appeared out of the darkness, running in every conceivable direction. 3 Geodude barreled their way past Gold, and he lifted a leg in panic as a family of Sandshrews scurried underfoot. He was about to follow them in hopes that they knew the way to safety, when the form of a towering rock snake filled the tunnel behind him, charging madly in the opposite direction. "Dear God, an Onix!" thought Gold with a new fear. Though they were rare in this part of the land, Onix would occasionally surface from deep underground if the territory supported their individual, if massive, proportions. Here was a creature so powerful that it could glide through solid earth as easily as an eel through water. Now, it bore down upon him and Mareep, and whether deliberately or out of madness, it made little difference. As one of the world's biggest and heaviest Pokemon, it would grind their bones to dust if they were overtaken. With a yell, Gold lunged at Mareep and pulled it from the path of destruction. The Onix rumbled past them a moment later with all the force of a Greyhound bus. The ground shook more violently than ever, and Gold and Mareep lay prone, unable to rise, watching as Onix continued on. It was as though the stone behemoth had not even noticed them. Then, right before Gold's wondering eyes, the ground beneath Onix ripped apart. Enormous as it was, the Onix was suddenly lifted high into the air, the center of its serpentine body gripped in the steel jaws of an even more gargantuan beast. Out from the fissure rose a lustrous colossus, equally snake-like, but at least triple the size of its victim. Onix issued a single, helpless bellow before an earth-splitting crack issued from its body. The steel jaws slammed together, and Onix thudded, lifeless, to the cave floor, bitten in two. Its killer chewed for a moment, then turned its head slowly but deliberately until 2 frigid eyes stared mercilessly down at Gold. Silver's mighty cave beast, Gold realized, his ears ringing. A Steelix.